pontomedullary reticular formation, midbrain, IML, intermediolateral function, and prefrontal. All these terms relate to how our brain is overfiring or underfiring. All diseases of the brain and all diseases of the body relate in a fashion to how we perceive what's going on in our body. Now, the perception is determined by the activity of our nervous system. Our nervous system is in direct relationship with primarily our gut. So if we were going to try and determine what neurotransmitters are out of balance in our body, we could determine some of those neurotransmitters by looking into the gut, and we look into gut function to determine how well our brain functions. Now, there's a barrier or blood-brain barrier that goes to the brain. There's a barrier in the gut that prevents foreign substances from getting inside our body. If we can determine what neurotransmitters that are out of balance, we can help to restore this sense of peace back into our lives. A sense of joy, compassion, love, empathy, which is what makes us human beings. Now, every time a nerve cell decreases its firing by way of infection from the gut, by way of an imbalance in terms of a methylation defect, or an invader or parasitic situation, by way of losing sleep, by way of staying anxious, irritable, depressed, and not compassionate or passionate, our nervous systems tone down. When they tone down to such a level that the nerves don't fire in those areas of the brain, that low signaling creates an alarm system that causes these invader cells or phagocytic cells that make up more than half the weight of the brain, what we call glial cells, to attack those low-firing cells. Now, most people with depression have low-firing cells. Most people with anxiety have low-firing cells. So what does our body do with those cells? If it isn't working really great, it will prune those cells. It will eat those cells because it doesn't see any purpose. If we want those cells to work, we want to improve firing of those cells. We want to improve function in those cells. And that's when we look at blood tests. We look at the fibrinogen levels. We look at the C-reactive protein. We look at homocysteine levels. We look at gut function and see whether there is an attack or a burden on the brain overwhelming the situation. We look at IL-6 markers. We look at an imbalance between Th1 and Th2. We look at thyroid markers. If those markers are out of balance, it is more important for us to get those balanced than to deal with the current situation of the feeling of anxiety or depression. It's more important to correct those imbalances, because as you correct those imbalances, health returns. The nervous system starts to function properly again. And that can only be done over time by actively working with the physician you work with. And that working relationship entails you actually putting your brain in a position of where you want it to go. You want your brain to be loving? You need to love. You want your brain to be intelligent? You need to keep stressing your brain. But you never want to put your brain into a state of fatigue. You want to listen to your brain. When you're feeling that brain fog, you slow down and stop those brain exercises. Take a short nap, meditate, breathe, create peace within yourself. the nutrients that I give you and the exercises to help balance the right and left side of the brain are extremely important. The ways of balancing the overriding effect of the intermediolateral function that's firing up the cord has to be dampened. Over a period of time, you will start to understand how your brain is improving and what you need to do to continue this. Again, the job is mainly within the patient, and the doctor is the coach. So I'm Dr. Steve Cohen, and this is Go Beyond Relief, and hopefully you understand your brain a little bit better. Thank you for listening.